Advertising was all about USPs, which are unique selling propositions, or single-minded propositions, and reason to beliefs and ideas. So a lot of poo-pah, making small brands and petty things into large things. So the dilemma that we were faced with on a daily basis was such that imagine you had to write sale 700 different ways every day. So what would you do? Sale. Great. Grand reduction sale. Super grand reduction sale. Mega sale and loot sale and so on and so forth. And this is how I started in the world of advertising in the early 90s. And this was a world where there was lots of mind-opening stuff happening. Grand opening sale, very mind-opening. And this is where we are still stuck to this date. This is a world where we were making pointless claims. I even read in the early 90s, in fact, I wrote that piece for an airline called AeroAsia then, 3% extra legroom in your business class. Wow, what does that mean? A 53% more radiant skin. 53%, really only 53% radiant skin? Anyway, so these were the claims that advertisers were making. This was a world of words, as I call, a linguistic paradigm of words. Newer, bolder, brighter, sharper, and cheaper, of course. But then, as we went along, in 2002, Daniel Kahneman and his colleague, I think Vernon Smith, did this profound study and found out that not merely women, but all humans are powered by emotion. Okay? So it's good news, right? And we men have taken such a long time to kind of keep this thing a secret, but damn, Daniel Kahneman, you figured this out, and you won a Nobel Prize for this also. So, and this was good news for a lot of us in the advertising profession. We said, yeah, really, we thought it was all rational, it was all reason, and here we are, driven by emotion, powered by our hearts, And so that was good news, and we thought this is going to be the future of advertising, where we'll be emotional and we'll do some really nice stuff. So we went on, still stuck in the paradigm of the words. Newer, bolder, bigger, brighter, and of course, cheaper. Anyway, so moving forward, working with this Daniel Kahneman's study, study after study told us in the years that followed that, it's the heart that rules. And if even the decision-making centers of our brain, and if our brain in some way kind of misfires or is damaged, not only do we lose the ability to laugh and cry, we also lose the ability to make decisions. We thought this one is going to help our FMCGs and our brand managers make those leaps towards more emotional advertising, but this didn't happen. An interesting man called Donald Kahn at the University of British Columbia put it very brilliantly. He said, reasoning leads to conclusion, and emotion leads to action. And we thought, bang, this is the time when advertising industry is going to take some action, more emotion and less of those words. Not happened. We moved on, and in 2014, Paul Zak came along. Paul Zak is what is called a neuroeconomist. He did another study, very interesting study, and he proved to the world that out of every 8 people, 3 people love brands more than their significant others, their partners, and their spouses. Those 3 people are now divorced and are single, okay? So these 3 people, this is like unbelievable study. And what a great opportunity, to now getting hugged or getting an embrace from your significant other, from your mother, from your sister, from your wife, from your girlfriend, releases oxytocin in your brain. Oxytocin is a chemical that kind of triggers the pleasure centers of your brain. Now imagine a hug versus thinking about Ruh Afza. I'm sure these guys needed to be divorced. Anyways, and we thought, we thought, okay, this is the opportunity. So here's our opportunity. We need to create brands, build businesses and services, and communicate these to people where the thinking about our brand kind of leads on the release of oxytocin. And what a great challenge as an industry for us to have. So here we are, armed with all of this data in a world where tech permeates every facet of our lives. 1.6 billion cell phones sold in the year 2016. 1.6 billion phones sold in the year 2016. On these 1.6 billion phones that we all own around the world, we spend on an average, this is the average, 4 hours every day. Of these 4 hours every day that we spend on our cell phones, 87% of them are spent using some kind of an app or the other. Well, now, that's all right. But you over there, sir, not now. Please. Don't use that app now. Shut it out. Anyway, so coming back. So 87% of that time is spent using apps. Now, imagine, all the parents here, I am a father of 2 teenagers, a 17 and a 19-year-old. And we used to struggle as a father and their mother. We used to struggle, and we realized that this is not representative of an addictive behavior. These 4 hours spent on the telephone. This is not representative of an addictive behavior, but it represents a massive cultural shift. All the kids are very happy. I can see that. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so this represents a massive cultural shift in where we are headed. We look at the world today, and we realize that we're creating a lot of data. We're creating a lot of, interactions that Munib had spoken about also earlier, and we are creating this legacy. It is safe to say that the future of advertising, or the way forward for advertising, will be largely tech-driven. And when I say tech-driven, I foresee a future where proliferation of no-code platforms will be very, very high. They've already started kind of a movement where coding is becoming easier and easier, and there will be a time when people like me with low-level or mid-level technical skills will be able to write advanced level of code. It's like when the cars came out, for you to be a motor kind of a mechanic, you needed to be an engineer certified by Ford. But today, you see proliferation of motor mechanics, and it's a really low-level skill. So writing code and proliferation of code and wonderful stuff is going to become really, really easy. And what that, in turn, will do is open up new worlds of hyper-realism, where as advertisers or as brand managers, we'll be able to give you experiences that will be super real, hyper-real. Imagine yourself, at your home with a VR set on you, and not these ugly, bulky sets, like really nice, swanky set, right? On you, experiencing a ride that in its physical nature exists in Orlando, but you are experiencing this at your home. Or being a participant in, say, a Battle of the Bands show as an audience while still being at home. Even, doing nothing, all you have to do, just say, anyone who has an Apple phone here? Just take out and say, hey Siri, and see what happens. Yeah, there you go. She comes alive, or he, or whatever, he, she, I don't know Siri's gender, so we'll move on with that. So imagine all of this data and everything that is being recorded about us. And as Munib said earlier, we are leaving this pool of tons and tons of ourselves in the afterlife. To top that with AI systems, facial recognition I was talking to you earlier about. The possibilities are endless. To top that, in March this year, University of Ohio developed an algorithm which can predict human behavior or human emotion better than humans. So I mean, really, I need to get that, because last Saturday when I asked my wife, it's that boys' night out, and she said, fine, and I said, all right, she's fine. Little did I know what fine meant. After 23 years of being married, I still don't get fine. Fine. So it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It's so many fines out there, so we need that algorithm. Anyways, so in this is the kind of world that we are living in. Going forward, armed with all of this data, I think is going to be scary business. In Pakistan, I don't think we are ready for it. There are many fundamental questions that need to be answered, that need to be raised. Who's going to own this data? Who's going to serve this data? There are many, many questions. But the bigger question remains is that are we going to move beyond this words? Because when I go home, and every now and then when I turn on my TV, kind of to see what's happening on the local scene, I still see advertising that is still full of words. It's still bigger, bolder, newer, and still cheaper. आ गया, अब पेश है. I work with a client. I've been working with them since 1997. And since 1997, I've probably created about 300 pieces of advertising. I swear I'm not exaggerating. और किसी इश्तिहार में, not in a single piece of advertising have I not said, अब पेश है नया. So they have like multiple products on them. They're one of the largest FMCGs in the world. And every piece has a middle in it, and they call it the product module, and they say, ab pesh hai naya. So, purana kab hoga? So, going on. So, I don't think, are ready to kind of leverage all of this data. There are many ethical questions that remain. And as creatives, I think we're just not there. My take when I was asked to speak on this subject on the way forward was, the big question for me is, are we going to continue to walk in the footsteps of those that have followed before us? Not challenging the status quo, continuing in this journey aimlessly? Or are we going to be bold enough and create a new path, explore new avenues, and boldly go where no one has ever gone before? And that is the question for the industry to go forward. These conversations have started. We are having these conversations here, sporadic conversations here and there, in the boardrooms of telcos, of FMCGs, of banks, and other organizations, even in ad agencies. But the tragedy, I think, is that we've set our sights too low. Some can say small mercies that you are having that conversation. Yeah, okay. We are having that conversation, but the sights that we have set for ourselves are too low. I think advertising has a huge role to play in the society going forward. We recently did, a couple of years ago, we did a piece for a client where we got Pakistan's biggest heartthrob to make tea for his wife when she comes home. Okay? This was Fawad Khan making tea for an ordinary-looking wife that he has in that TV commercial. And the internet went wild. The Pakistani internet went wild. The women went crazy. And they were like, kya baat hai, maza aa gaya, this, that, and the other. Now my husband's making tea, at least he's thinking about it, this, that. And I mean, really, and to us, it may be, to a lot of people out there, it may be floozy, it may be flaky, it may be superficial. But you know what? There are many women out there who would really appreciate a cup of tea made by their husbands. That's our role. And we are not trying to glorify our role here. This is our role. We can be, we can stand for things that are bigger than ads. We need to stand for ideas that are bigger than ads, ideas that break down barriers, ideas that enrich lives, ideas that are the currency of the future, ideas that end up becoming love marks, not brand marks or trademarks, ideas that end up doing advocacy. But to do all of this, we will need to be able to walk out of that paradigm. We need to be able to think big. And when I say big, it doesn't mean 53% more radiant skin or 3 centimeter long hair by the time I come to your wedding. That's an ad that's currently running. मेरे बाल लंबे हो जाएंगे. Really, नहीं होंगे. I know that product. Anyways, so we need to think beyond that. We need to think much bigger. And there's a wonderful film that I saw many years ago. It's one of my favorite films. It's a film called Hitch. And in that, Hitch tells his friend, it says, life is not about the number of breaths you take. It's the number of moments that take your breath away. Advertising will have to be able to do that to have a future. Thank you.